Welcome in, Chipola Nation. I'm Donnie Tyndall, head men's basketball coach. I've got my lead assistant here with me today, Trent Short. Trent is joining us from Jones Junior College in Mississippi, replacing Lane Blue, who is my associate head coach. Lane is now the head coach at Gulf State College and in our conference. And for the Chipola fans that got to know Lane and his family, Hannah, his wife, they're expecting baby number 2 in February. So shout out to Lane and Hannah and little Collins. They're going to have a little brother, and they've assured me they're going to name him Donnie. So we'll see how that goes anyway. But Trent, welcome in.
Yes, sir.
You got big shoes to fill. Lane was an absolute stud. Did a great job, but you've done a tremendous job thus far. I know you have a coaching background, if you will. Why don't you tell our fans a little bit about where you grew up, your high school and college playing career, and I know your daddy was a high school coach and an outstanding coach at that. So go ahead, tell our fans a little about yourself.
I'm from Pensacola, Florida. My dad was a high school coach for about 13 years at Milton High School. Went to a couple state championships at Milton. So kind of grew up with basketball and coaching kind of in my blood, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I went into college. I played at Pace High School for 4 years. I went to the University of Mobile on a scholarship. And I always joke around, I was number 17 on the roster when I got there, worst player on the team when I got there. And I left being a 2-year, actually 3-year starter. Had a pretty successful career, broke a couple shooting records, 3-point records. And a lot of that credits to Darnell Archie. Coach Archie came in and kind of put me in a situation to succeed there.
Yeah.
And then after 4 years there, I went up to Central Methodist University as a graduate assistant. We went to the national tournament that year I was there. And then Coach Archie called and asked if I wanted to come back and work for him as an assistant. And it was hard to turn that down, be back closer to home near the South and work with Coach Archie, and did that. We had a really successful season there. And one of our best years in about 15 years. And then Coach Newton Mueller at Jones offered me the job as his assistant at Jones, and went there for a year and went 27-7 there. First national tournament, third national tournament in school history, first national tournament since 2017. So I had a lot of success, had some really good players there. And then this door kind of opened up for me here. And, and it was kind of hard to turn that down.
Well, I remember coming up as a high school and then college player, a lot of fans and people that would watch me play thought that I was a coach's kid. I kind of played like a coach's kid, if you will. I wasn't. My dad wasn't a coach, but I kind of played that way. I always kind of wanted to get a perspective from a guy who was a coach's son, like you. What was maybe the biggest thing that really you loved and helped you being a coach's kid, and maybe one thing that you didn't necessarily enjoy about being a coach's kid?
Yeah, I would say the positive part of it was, after every game, you have dad who's watching you play that has a lot of input, usually negative. So that can be the negative side of it, is you're like, man, he's never satisfied with what I did that game. You go and have a 20-point game and he's sitting there talking about all the times you could have gotten the free throw line, or you missed a box out, or closed out short, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it also gives you a different perspective. So then when I got done as a player, it was pretty easy to jump into that coaching role, because you kind of see the coach's side of it, which is a totally different side.
Yeah, and probably mom had to be a little bit of a buffer there.
Mom was the nice guy in the situation. Her and my mama would always tell me how good I did, even if I played terrible.
Right.
So that was good to have that balance.
I love it. Well, all right, so let's fast forward through your coaching career. I know Coach Archie was an outstanding player at Butler for Brad Stevens, who went on to be the head coach of the Celtics, and Coach Archie's having great success over there at the University of Mobile. And when I called him to visit with you, Trent, about possibly hiring you here at Chipola, the first thing he said was loyal. And that's huge to me. A guy that, is going to be loyal to you when things go good, when things go bad, when the players maybe don't like you, because believe it or not, the players always don't like the head coach, right? But that's what he said. And he said he's a rising star in the business, extremely loyal. lives in the office, loves basketball. And that's really important to me too, a guy that loves basketball, because we do. We eat, sleep, and drink it around here. And if you don't love it, it becomes a job. And I've said every day of my life, I've never really truly had to work. This what we do with basketball isn't work. It's not a job. It's something you enjoy. And so he had high praise for you, coming from a heck of a coach who'll probably be a Division I head coach in the next year or two, right?
Yep,
and then you go to Jones, outstanding program there, recruit some great players. You work with a close friend of mine, Clarence Weatherspoon. Spoon was a great player. I talked to Spoon about you when I hired you, and Spoon said the same thing. This guy is loyal. He loves basketball. He's great with the players. And, Clarence Weatherspoon's a guy that played 15, 16 years in the NBA. Was on the hiring committee at Southern Miss when they hired me. So I trust that guy with my life, and he had great things to say about you as well. So we're glad you're here. And when you were making this decision, of course, you're going to say it's because of me. I get that. But in reality, why did you make the decision to come to Chipola?
Growing up kind of as a kid, I grew up in Pensacola, so I watched Pensacola State a lot. And I was obsessed with the Panhandle Conference. Man, it was a Division I conference, the SEC of junior college basketball. And last year when I was at Jones, the conference isn't as strong. And we came and played in that tournament and played against Gulf Coast and Pensacola State. And just seeing the day in and day out grind of the Panhandle Conference, it was very intriguing to get over here. It's the dream come true in junior college to work in this conference. And then, to add to that was to get a chance to come work for you, all the success you've had. It was hard to turn down. I talked to tons of people asking for advice and opinions, and they all said, man, you'd be crazy not to do it.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you decided to do it. Trent's going to be heavily involved in every aspect of our program. Again, as our lead assistant, he's going to be heavily involved in scouting, recruiting. He's very, very active on the floor in practices. Our players love him and done a great job to this point. Now, you make your decision. You get here in June. We're plugging away, recruiting camp, all the things that are going on in the summer. Our guys are here. We're working out in the weight room, etc. Give me a surprise or two. Doesn't have to be good, that maybe caught you off guard and you're like, wow, I didn't realize it'd be like this, or wow, I didn't realize that would happen when you got here to Chipola.
Probably just like the everyday grind of it. Where I've been in the past, we didn't have to do summer stuff. And so when I got here, you think like summer's going to be kind of laid back and relaxed, and it's not. The summer grind is just like the season grind. It's every day. It's 7 days a week. And as you always say, punching the clock. Like here, you've got to punch the clock every single day. You got to make sure that the scouts are done, the guys are getting workouts in, the lifts are right, practice is good, and everything in between. Yeah.
Well, and I think that does catch some guys off balance or by surprise a little bit. But, we run it just like we did a Division I program. Everywhere I was at, you have the summer school. And so literally about the only time you have to be what I call a human being is the month of May, when the guys go home between that break of school ending and summer school starting. And outside of that, you're grinding every day. And I think what it does, though, like our players, Trent, and fans out there, it gets them ready for that Division I level, and you're going to be a Division I assistant in the near future, or a head coach if you choose that route like Lane did. And it gets you ready. It gets you ready for that situation, that opportunity. So with that being said, I always give the players when they're on the show a chance to ask me one question. Is there a question maybe you would want to ask? Nothing tricky now, Coach, but any question for me at all?
What's been the biggest difference between here and the Division I level?
That's a great question because there's so many things here that are a Division I program. First of all, we have a great administration that thinks like a Division I program, which is the most important thing. But we have a booster club that's bigger than the booster club I had at both Morehead State and Southern Miss, which is unbelievable for this level. You have the summer opportunities for the kids to go to school, get ahead toward their degree, and be here to work out, get stronger in the weight room. So that's like Division I. I think probably the biggest thing for me is at the Division I schools I was at for an extended period of time, when I was an assistant with Kermit at Middle, when I was at Morehead 6 years as a head coach, Southern Miss only 2 years, but still what I'm getting at is the experience that you end up getting at that level. When kids become juniors and seniors in your program, they can help you coach the team.
Mm-hmm.
We're at this level, you're basically turning your roster over every year. It's with young kids most of the time, 18, 19 years old, freshmen or sophomores coming right out of high school or prep school, maybe 1 year of college experience. And so you are teaching everything over and over and over repeatedly every year, which when you love basketball, that's fun.
Yeah.
But it is nice when you're in those established Division I programs when kids got to be older, and now the younger kids are struggling, going through some adversity. Those older kids can kind of take them by the arm and say, okay, now here's how it works. And you don't always have that at this level. But it brings a unique challenge, and I love it here and everything about it. But that would be the biggest thing right there.
Okay.
So
I've got one more question.
Oh,
too.
boy, two questions maybe over the limit.
I know
here.
this is a long time ago, but what's the biggest difference between the head coach and being an assistant coach? Like, what's the hardest challenge of that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, especially when you're a young guy like you are, being able to be cool with the players and have them trust you and lean on you and count on you. But yet that fine line where you have to be able to divide and say, I am a coach now, I'm not your buddy. I'm going to be there for you when you need me to talk, whatever it may be. I'm here. But on the flip side, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to coach you hard. I'm going to be real with you. And for me, that was never really an issue, because even as a player, probably like you were having dad as a coach, I was like a coach on the floor anyway. So it never became an issue. But I have seen it with many young guys as they rise up in the profession, that can become a little bit of a sticking point. So I'd say that'd be the biggest thing right there. So you've had a chance to be around our team some, obviously, 3 or 4 months. You haven't seen the Panhandle firsthand as a coach. Like you said, day after day, night after night. You may be playing a Panhandle team or two, but night after night now, it's a grind. What do you think of our team and where we're at this point in the season, Trent?
You know, we're never satisfied in a sense. So we got a long way to go. But I think the depth we have this year is going to be good for us. I think we've got some pieces that we can bring off the bench, especially some returning guys that you've had for 2-3 years. I think bringing that off the bench can help us a lot. And I just think the guard play, and I'm probably biased because I'm in charge of the guards, but I think our guard play, we got a lot of depth at the guard position. I think you need guards to win. And so I think that's going to be big for us this year.
Well, I agree. If we can get everybody healthy, right?
Absolutely.
And that's been an issue for us so far this fall. I do think we'll have a deep team that hopefully can wear some teams down. And, some guys will have it going one night. Some other guys may have it going the next night, and you can just kind of go with what's working. But we're excited to have you, man.
Yes,
it's been great so far. I think you got a bright future. Chipola fans, this guy's a rising star and comes from a coaching background, as we've talked about. So he's been a great addition. We're glad to have him. Opening night this Friday, 7 o'clock. And then Saturday, the very next day, we play at 3 o'clock. Play Albany Tech home opener, 7 o'clock on the 1st. And then we turn around and play Southwest Mississippi on Saturday at 3 o'clock. We hope you get a chance to come out and join us. We had a great turnout for Fan Jam this past week. Those of you that came out, showed up, brought your families, we can't thank you enough for being there. And we're excited to get this thing tipped off, right?
Time to go.
All right, man. Go Indians.